Hey critics, it's time for Black on the Cover, where we highlight Black talent gracing the cover of some of today's top magazines. Welcome back to the Critic Chronicles YouTube channel, where you get commentary, reviews, and tabloid news. I'm your host, Patricia Hartley. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Y'all, today we are featuring Emmy-nominated actress Tabitha Brown. She graces the cover of Women's World, the May 13th issue. Now, this woman got, y'all, 1.1 million YouTube subscribers, 3.4 million Facebook followers, 5.2 million TikTok friends. She's an author. She's a cook extraordinaire, darling. She's also a vegan, very well known for her very spiritual and colorful meals that she's making, not only on her YouTube channel, but also on TikTok. She is busy with the day-to-day, but she still found time to write a book. And we're going to talk about not only her being on the cover, y'all, but her new book called I Did a New Thing. But before we go there, I want us to go inside the pages of Women's World so we can talk about some of the highlights. All righty. So there, we have author Kiki Swenson. She has a brand new thriller. It's called Where There's Smoke. Now, it is one of Women's World's best new books. Just to kind of give you a little bit of the description, as it says in the issue, it's a thriller. It's suspenseful, and it's a heart-racing saga that centers on volunteer firefighter Elena Curry, who is trying to conceal her part in a crime. So essentially, it sounds to me like she's a firefighter. She was a part of something as it pertains to a incident. Maybe she was a part of a fire of some sort. But as a firefighter, she got the inside scoop so she can cover it up. They're calling it a arson for insurance scam gone wrong. You can check that out on Women's World, page 8. And how can you fix a broken metabolism? I mean, they got some tips there on page 24. And if you're looking to find happiness during Mother's Day, because of course that's this weekend, you can check out page 26. A lot of the times, this holiday does not always evoke positive memories. And it's not just because maybe someone's mother is no longer with us, but it also is just because some folks don't see motherhood as the same and didn't always have the same exact experience. So page 26 gives some good practical tips on some things that you can do, specifically if you're having challenges this Mother's Day weekend. There's also some juicy, tender, beautiful recipes inside the issue, including how to make apple raspberry crumb cake, blueberry creamed pancakes, and berry chocolate cake. So those are some options, and that's throughout the entire magazine. You'll see recipes scattered throughout. What I really wanted to point out was three things that I thought was very interesting. They talk about some tips on how to preserve memories. They give like 5 or so, maybe even 6 or 7, but I wanted to specifically point out 3 of them. So they talk about greetings cards and like using a clothing line to just kind of display them either at your house or somewhere, maybe even in your dining area. I see this a lot. College students actually do this a lot, but I've also seen this on decorative walls. I've seen this behind people's YouTube channel. It's a part of their decor. But you can basically put a clothing line somewhere in your house that you can, and then all the different greeting cards that you got either for Mother's Day, Christmas, whatever the holiday may be. You can actually display them there. Sometimes we'll throw them in a box or a drawer. Unfortunately, I be keeping a lot of stuff, y'all. I gotta work on it. Okay? But I have boxes full of just kind of over the years goodies and things that I've received from amazing people and students and friends and all the things, okay? So yeah, that's cute. That's cute. Something else that they talk about in terms of tips on how to preserve memories, using a shadow box frame for jewelry, just getting one of those little boxes and putting jewelry in there that you maybe is very sentimental to you. I think it's perfect for jewelry that you are not gonna wear, but maybe it was an heirloom. You got it from your grandma or somebody or your mother. It was passed down from generation to generation. I think the shadow box is perfect for something like that. And then using a free app. So finding an app that you can actually have your photos on, because your phone gets full very fast. A tip that a student actually showed me was downloading a Google Drive on your phone and then taking the pictures from your phone and uploading them into the drive and saving them there, right? That way it gives you like another place, some additional space in order to be able to save that particular photo. I also think it's good to get in the habit, and I'm telling y'all this, but I don't quite do this every single night with my cell phone. I do it often though with my iPad. But when it comes to photos in your phone, every night, just kind of get into the habit once or twice a week, or maybe even once a week. For me, I just take so many pictures sometimes and screenshots, especially when I'm into, doing a podcast or doing a show of some sort. And I just have a lot of data that's on my pictures, everything that's taking up a lot of space, basically. So getting that drive and then uploading some of the things there so you can delete them off of your space on your device. I think that's a great idea. So you can get an app, or you can just use Google Drive as well. And then the good thing about Google Drive is it shares your email, so it also is space for your email. So I mean, you kind of getting like a 2 for 1 and 2 for 1. So those are some things that's inside the pages of Women's World May 13th issue. And of course, got to get to the meat of the juiciness, and that is Miss Tabitha Brown. She's on the cover of Women's World. She has a beautiful 2-page spread, and I have her book called I Did a New Thing, 30 Days to Living Free, in which she inspires women to try a new thing every day, saying we need something exciting to revive our mindset. Well, I have her book right here in front of me, and I don't know why. I was going to preserve this for the end of the show, but I wanted to read a few excerpts, or one excerpt, excuse me, like out of her book. So in her book, this is the chapter. It says, "Do something hard but necessary." This is on page 89. And so I won't read much because I'm only allowed to read so much on the computer. But I'll say it like this. It really touched home with me, so I wanted to share it with you. And although I'm not done, I wanted to just say something that I hope would inspire you the way this passage inspired me. So it says, maybe letting go of a friend or a family member is not the hard new thing you need to do today. Maybe it's letting go of an old way of thinking. Maybe it's releasing a habit or behavior that's not serving you well or is causing you much heartache. Whatever it is, be obedient to what you know you must do and trust that in the long run, it will work out for your good. So that's a little bit of an excerpt from Tabitha Brown's new book, I Did a New Thing. But you can find her on the cover of the May 13th issue of Women's World. And she talks about in the article some things that she actually learned from her mother, and how she learned to embrace each season with gusto, specifically from her mother. So her mother actually ended up passing away, and she had, I believe it was ALS, but her mom taught her so much about strength prior to her death. And so one of the things I like about Tabitha Brown really is just her spirit. I think that she captured everybody, not only with her recipes, but also when she comes on and she says all of her little isms and things. In her book, actually, she has something called TSAs, and they're called Tabitha Service Announcement. So TSAs is what you can call them here in her book, but she gives so many of those throughout. But that's really the same exact personality that caught, I think, the spirit of America. In fact, on the cover of the magazine, they have a little phrase that calls her America's mom. And when she was on the Shannon Sharp show, she said she did not mind that title at all. She does not mind being called auntie. She does not being called America's mom. And it looks to me like Women's World have also embraced that same thing, and they're leaning more towards the mom here. So in her new book, she says the following, excuse me, in the article, she says the following. She says, back in 2014, I was a new mama, and I just thought, I'm bored. I need to do something to switch it up. And that's why she recalls of the journey that inspired her brand new book, the one that I have here with me, which I got this at the public library, by the way. You know here that we encourage you to go get your public library card, because it gives you access to thousands of resources, not only resources that are physically in the library, such as the books, but also digital resources as well. As a reminder, this magazine, Women's World, is also available via a digital platform, either Hoopla or Flipster. So those are the two that I'm specifically using today. And now back to what I'm supposed to be talking about. All righty. So in Tabitha Brown, excuse me, the article continues to say, we can be such creatures of habit that we do the same routine every day and we start to not feel well. We start to feel a little depressed. We need something exciting to revive our mindset. So in the book, she basically gives us those doing a new thing and that challenge of doing it for basically 30 days. She also talks about 6 ways that you deserve endless joy. Number 1, she says, accept each season of life as it comes. And she was also personal and honest about it. She says, she's had to, in these last few years, basically just kind of let some relationships go. She said she realized that when you lose a relationship, there's new people that God sends your way for the next season of your life. And we have to be open to receiving that. Okay. So we're not the only people, everyday people aren't the only people that have to just kind of reevaluate some of the folks that we might have in our lives on a day-to-day basis. The other thing she says is, she says, don't be afraid to use your voice. Okay. She said, as women, we've got to be vocal about what we want. I will tell you this. Listen, as a woman who knows what I want at this point in time in my life, and definitely for like the last like 5 years or so, um, eh, you can tell people what you want, but there are folks who still won't give you what you want. Like they'll use it as kind of like bait or something like that. You know how it goes. You tell folks what you want. Folks be like, I don't know what you want. Then you tell them exactly what you want. And then they're like, I mean, well, and you're like, child, you can't meet my expectations. She also goes on to say, put you first. She said we all have families and jobs, and so many responsibilities, but we should always be our first responsibility. Now, I completely agree with that. And the reason being is just because when you take care of yourself and you're able to just kind of tap into your best self, you really are able to take care of everything, all the responsibilities around you, and sometimes even go above and beyond, right? And imagine if you go above and beyond when you're not feeling well. Imagine when you're feeling well, you're gonna definitely go above and beyond. So everybody benefits when you are at your best self. So yes, put you first. Also she said, let furry friends soothe your soul. She has her dog, she said Blackie, and she said Blackie makes me laugh every day. She said he's a little kookapoo terrier mix. Terrier mix. Excuse me, I should have got that name right, but it's a terrier mix. Now I don't have any animals, I have to say that. However, I'm a small town girl. I'm just a small town girl. I'm a small town girl from Texas, y'all. So, we lived in a small town, but also we were blessed enough to live out in the country, which I didn't know was a blessing at the time, but we were blessed enough to live out in the country. And we also had animals, but I will tell you this, I didn't grow up calling it a farm. The kids on the bus used to say, "Oh, you got goats," and the goats running around, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah," and they'd be like, "Oh, you got a cow." Because when my great grandmother passed away, we ended up inheriting her cow. And so we ended up taking care of her cow. And sometimes we would have to, because it was a baby calf, we would have to like milk the calf and all the things. And so we had a cow in the yard, and then we had chickens, but they weren't our chickens. It was really my grandma next door chickens. Okay, I know it sounds country, but we were, and we had animals, but I didn't grow up calling it a farm. But the kids on the bus used to say things to me like, "Oh, you live on a farm." And I'm like, "No, we don't live on no farm." But she is absolutely right. Furry friends basically soothe the soul. Got a little off topic there, but we are back. We are back in business. She also talks about reflecting on a life of legacy. She says grace is the best thing that I learned from my mother. Tabitha Tabitha goes on to say, grace, patience, and God's timing. She was such a graceful woman. Another thing she taught me was that everybody has something to offer. So be kind to people, love and respect people, because we all have something to offer this world and each other. So remember the life lessons, in my opinion, that you learned in life, and then bring that to the forefront. I think it's even best to get appreciative, and have those like times where you just start like have these moments of gratitude and appreciation. And I do agree, reflect on a life of love and also legacy, and think about all the things that you've learned. I think that that's helpful too um to your joy. She also says, finally, the sixth thing, which is ease stress with a simple workout. Now, anybody can tell you that getting outside is where it's at. But she says specifically, to motivate myself to work out, I think of it as a form of self-care. She says, I do a bit of cardio or stretching, helps me stay limber, pain-free, and it really helps me with menopause symptoms. So I actually have seen a lot of things about, menopause. It's also as well as also premenopause. I cannot remember the host name at this point in time, but she talked about premenopause and how we don't talk about it enough, as well as Holly Berry. She's out there talking about her misdiagnosis from her doctor, which was crazy, but we will not focus on that. We're going to focus here on Tabitha Brown. But Halle Berry now talks about menopause and premenopause and how essentially, there may be doctors out there that may not want to necessarily talk about that, or more specifically on the flip side, women who don't want to accept it. So doctors who don't necessarily want to share that that's the diagnosis that they have. So yeah, but Tabitha says, get outside, get outdoors. I say even just a simple walk. I think that that's enough for you to be able to get yourself moving. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about the Shannon Sharpe interview that Tabitha Brown did. So Tabitha Brown, if you go to Shannon Sharpe's YouTube channel, she's one of the handful of women that Shannon Sharpe has interviewed. And in that interview, she also brought her husband along with her, and his name is Chance. And they just so happen to have a YouTube show, and it's called Fridays with Tab and Chance. So you can check that out on Tabitha Brown's YouTube channel, where she has her consistent show called Fridays with Tab and Chance. So that's her and her husband of years. I think it's maybe at least 20 years they've been together. Essentially, I also saw Tabitha Brown post a picture of her daughter, and I believe it was her brother, and they were doing a workout and getting outdoors, as she talked about. Her daughter was home visiting from college, and Tabitha and her husband Chance have a total of 3 children. They have a bonus daughter together. They also have a daughter and also a son. Their daughter is in college right now, and her son, I think he's like 10 or 11, something like that. So shout out to Tab and the family, and all the things that she's doing. She talked about her humble beginnings and being an Uber driver, and the road that she had to take during the caretaking of her mom there in North Carolina, moving back in order to make sure that everything was where it needed to be, and her mom was able to leave the world comfortably, or at least with loved ones there right by her side, her sister and her siblings. Yeah, you can also check out some of Tabitha Brown's digital books, or books via the digital platforms. Specifically, Hoopla is where I was able to find these at. So, The Feeding the Soul, it's on audiobook and ebook. Her Seen, Loved, and Heard is on audiobook via Hoopla. Cooking from the Spirit is via audiobook and ebook as well. And then again, I Did a New Thing, which is her most recent book that she just released this year in 2024. I have the physical book here, so I was able to get it directly from the library without an issue or a problem. Remember, you can also request something through a interlibrary loan, right? So there may be a adjacent library or a library in the area that has it. You can request it. Just go to the website of your library or talk to your librarian about how you can access that, or if they have that service at their particular library. Remember, this segment encourages you to go get your public library card. Most magazines reviewed in this video are also available on the digital platform Hoopla. This is not a paid advertisement and is in no way affiliated with any library or educational entity. But here at Critic Chronicles, we encourage all of our listeners to commit to being a lifelong learner and get your library card so you can access thousands of resources today. Now, check out the description box for more information about how to stay connected to the channel, and be sure to catch us here on the Chronicles every week for uploads. Now, it's the weekend, critics, and we are cranking out content all weekend long. Thanks for tuning in to the Critic Chronicles YouTube channel, where you get commentary, reviews, and tabloid news. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for tuning in to Black on the Cover.